This is the mystery true crime genre group presentation for LIS 2332 in the spring of 2016. This is by Vince Giordano, Matthew Zeoli, and Veronica Potenza. Mystery and true crime is a form of narrative fiction. It tells a detective story on a mysterious death, murder, or crime, and its main character could be an actual detective or law enforcement official. It could be a curious protagonist, such as a newspaper reporter who wants to solve a mystery. Or even in mystery stories, the mystery itself, or the murder itself, is the main character. Readers of mystery have to piece together evidence, plot lines, and characters and take into account all of their stories and try to solve the mystery. Readers usually take some sort of satisfaction from solving this mystery. They want to help right any wrongs for anyone who was hurt, and they usually enjoy the process of solving a mystery in a story or figuring out what has happened and why. The history of this genre goes back quite a ways. Edgar Allan Poe is considered one of the first authors that used elements that we see in mystery. His stories included detectives who solved crimes by their sharp thinking and their careful examination of evidence, or just plain mysteries in a locked room. I've seen that mystery is very popular in a lot of public libraries, and I believed it when I saw this statistic that today almost 1 in every 3 new books published in English falls into the crime fiction category. Mystery and true crime have been very popular for many different periods of time and times in history, and we will see why. For today, these on the left are authors that write present-day mystery and true crime. Many of us have heard of Janet Ivanovich, James Patterson, and Stephen King. And then these are some of the titles, such as Silence of the Lambs, which is one of my favorites, or the Jack Reacher stories. Some of these have even been made into movies. And you'll see that these are not all made the same. They're not all dark, scary horror. Some of them actually incorporate comedy, and some of them are quite frightening. Here are the genres that we'll get into. Gothic fiction we know as horror and paranormal fiction. Gothic fiction is seen in a lot of other mystery, and it's actually a fairly big part in the Newgate Calendar, which we see next. The Newgate Calendar took crimes that were happening in the 18th century and they put them onto calendars. And then they were put into actual novels. Sensation fiction also took what was happening at that time and made it into a fictional story. Sensation fiction focused on what was sensational at that time in terms of crimes. Certain periods of time, forgery or fraud or kidnapping were very scary and caused a lot of anxiety in society. They wrote fiction that focused on those titles. The Locked Room, the Whodunit, and the Murder Story, these focus on the mystery and the murder. The mystery and the murder are almost the main character in these stories. You learn about them, and actual human characters sort of fall by the wayside in these stories. Then we have detective stories and spy stories. These focus mainly on characters that are in official capacities. They may work for a government or a foreign entity, or are actual professional detectives or law enforcement officials. The clue puzzle took murder and made that the central crime. There were mystery titles before that the mystery focused on crimes such as fraud and forgery, not on murder itself. Then the last few we have are procedural mystery. We see this in a lot of the popular media today that looks to solve mysteries through forensics or through legal means. The hard-boiled mystery is one that has been very popular for some time, that tells the story of a police officer living in a time that has a lot of murder, sexuality, greed. You could see this in a lot of LA noir stories. And then the last two focus a lot on the evil or the criminal itself. The story is told through the criminal's eyes in criminal stories and violent crime stories. You see in these stories what life is like in a criminal world. This is found in stories such as The Godfather or Silence of the Lambs. In Roman noir, you see stories that sympathize with evil elements, and these have actually formed other genres out of that. This can be seen in mysteries that focus on white masculinity, and it's inspired feminist crime fiction.